Hey you guys, it's Carolyn from Homesteading Family, and today I'm going to show you how to take your onions that have been stored in the pantry and dehydrate them so you can make your own homemade onion powder. Now this is a great project for this time of year because a lot of times you have your stored onions either that you bought bulk back in the fall or that you grew and you stored yourself back in the pantry or in some form of common storage, and they start getting a little soft, or maybe they're not ideal, and you realize that you really have to use those up before they go bad. And so I have just a bowl full of onions here, and you can do this with any amount, and I'm just peeling off the loosest parts of their skin. I always keep as much skin on them when I'm storing them as I can so that they have a little bit more protection from the elements. So I'm just peeling off the real loose parts here right into my compost bucket. You could also put these into a bag that you keep in the freezer for making your homemade chicken broth or beef broth or flavoring a vegetable broth, anything like that. And today I have them going right into the compost bucket. All right. Now to do this, I am just going to go ahead and cut off both ends and cut them right in half. And then I'm going to go ahead and peel off that outer layer of the rest of that peel. So I just don't have to fight with this. You know, the faster you can get through onions, the better, because if you're anything like me, you'll cry. I cry so badly at onions that I have to make onion chopping a really quick job. Otherwise, I'm sobbing by the time I'm done with my onions. All right, here we go. I'll just get a few of these guys done real fast. And because we're going to go ahead and turn this into an onion powder, you don't have to be super exact with your chopping. If you were wanting to just have some very uniform, say dried onion slices, then they would dry better if you have them very exactly sliced, like say with a mandolin slicer or even a food processor. But this, we're just going to go ahead and slice. And the thinner you slice these, the faster they're going to dry. And again, the more exact you slice them, the easier it's going to be, the more uniformly that they will dry, and that'll be easy. So I'm just going to go ahead and do them like this and keep it pretty easy. I'm doing maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. And I'll get through the rest of these onions. All right, there we have it. We have all of these onions chopped, and I'm gonna wash this cutting board as quickly as I can before I start crying. All right, now I have my dehydrator tray out, and it has its fruit leather sheet on it right now. Now, you guys know how much I hate using disposable products, but raw onions is one of those things that the flavor of it when it's being dehydrated will get into your sheets and be really hard to get out of your dehydrator. And the next several things you dehydrate, you'll find still taste like onions. So I would recommend either getting a second set of these just for really strong flavors like your garlic or your onions, or going ahead and using a parchment paper just to save yourself the hassle, because it takes a lot of washing to get onion flavor out of something like your dehydrator trays. So this is really simple. We're just going to go ahead and lay these out. Now, you know, you just don't have to be perfectly exact on this. I know you see all these pretty pictures of people's like beautifully lined up onion rings and things like that, and you know, it takes them 10 minutes to stand there and do one tray. And I just have better things to do with my day. And a lot of times I find myself doing, 2 or 3 dehydrators filled with onions, and I just don't want to stand there for that long over onions. So just kind of getting them mostly single layer on your sheets is absolutely fine. And you know, if you're one of those people who likes things really orderly and it makes your world feel a little more controlled to get them all lined up in order, by all means do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're not, then go for it. Just kind of put a jumble of them out there. It's not going to hurt them. And they're all going to get tossed into a blender or a food processor anyways to powder them. All right, so here we go. So I am going to go ahead and stick this right into my dehydrator. Now I've got to tell you, this is gonna make the house smell very strongly of onions. So if you have the opportunity to set your dehydrator out in a garage or even outside, that may be really nice because this is a strong smell and it will make your eyes water when you walk by that part of the house if you're doing it inside. So you may want to go ahead and set the dehydrator outside at least for the first few hours. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can certainly do this in a low oven. And by low, again, you're looking for that 150-degree range where you maybe are just lighting your light in the oven. Maybe you just have the light running and the oven open. Maybe you can turn your oven on to 150. Most ovens that I see start at about 170 as the lowest setting. So you may have to turn that on and off a few times to get that. I will come back and show you tomorrow when I get mine all the way dehydrated, and we'll go ahead and take that next step. All right, now these onions have been dehydrating for about 6 hours, and I want to test them to see if they're done. Now I'm just going to pick them up and I'm going to snap them, and I don't know if you could hear that, but that was a nice crisp snap, and there's just no leatheriness, no moisture at all in that. Now I'm going to check several different parts because sometimes these just don't dry evenly on a sheet. And so you want to kind of test around and make sure you test any areas that look thick or like they're, you know, maybe sliced more thickly than the other ones. And you can hear these are just really dry. So these are just right to go ahead and go on to the next step. Now, the next step is so simple. All we're going to do is put them into either a, you could use a coffee bean grinder, you could use a blender, you could use a food processor, you could use any one of those things, and we're just going to process these until they're completely finely powdered. So today I'm going to use my blender. You could even do these by hand if you want. Now beware, because these are still onions, so they do have the propensity to leave a flavor in some things. Now this blender gets really clean. It's really easy to just clean it out so well that it doesn't leave any scent in it. But you know, if you're using a coffee grinder, you may not want to use the same one you use for your morning coffee. All right, now this is going to be a little loud, so I'm just going to go on back and process that, and I'll be right back. All right, now that took less than a minute on high here in this blender. And I'm just going to go ahead and dump this out. This is very nicely powdered. Now this is just one of the trays of dehydrated onions. And those onions I did about three trays worth. So this is probably about an onion and a half worth of onion powder right here. You can see how nice that is. Now if you smelled this right now, this is very potent smelling. It smells wonderful. This would be so good on a beef roast or on your roast chicken or whatever it is that you like to use onion powder for. And you know, this is way less expensive and way healthier than buying those little things of onion powder at the store. You know exactly what's in here. It's only onion. When you get one of those spice bottles at the store, it's often, you know, at least half filler. And so that said, you need to be aware when you go to use this, this is going to be a lot stronger than the stuff that you're used to buying from the store, because this is just 100% onion. You know, if you did this once a year and just did a big batch of this, you would have plenty of onion powder to last your family all year long. So you'll want to go ahead and store this in an airtight container, preferably out of the direct light if you're gonna want this to last you for a whole year. Alternately, what you could do is you could store those onions before they got blended up, the dehydrated onions, and just blend up little bits at a time so that they will last you, so you'll have that great, really strong flavor all throughout the year. This is so easy, guys, and it's such a great way to kick some more toxins out of your food and preservatives out of your food and just get good, real, whole food that doesn't cost very much. Take care, you guys. Goodbye.